Alright, Devlog for 2022, October. Yeah, so I'm kind of like in the final stages right now of getting everything ready. Um, so let's just quickly get into it. So one of the major things I wanted to do this month was fix the AI for a large part. So the AI is very likely to clump up. So what I finally decided to do was actually use locations to notify specific like areas that are important for the AI. And this is for the most part done in like large arenas. It doesn't really matter in like small hallways or just one individual fights with the player. But in like big fights, in like arena style positions, it's very useful to have uh positions. So what I have is I have a node manager which basically has AI nodes. So these circles that just appeared, these are basically visualizations of the nodes. So the way it works is the nodes are initialized by, I mean, what I first wanted to do was actually use objects. So I had like location objects that were just placed in the level. But that's kind of like a waste of performance because it basically means you need to keep track, your game needs to keep track of an entire actor that has like location variables and like tons of like tick variables. Even if tick is disabled, it still like initializes, and it's just not good for performance. So what I did is basically just a list of if I just make it a bit more clearer, it's basically just a giant list of markers. So I can basically just tell what everything is, whether it's a hide node, a retreat node, which I'm not using right. A retreat is actually not used, but hide and cover is used, and it also shows in the color like what it is, so I can very easily tell what my nodes are, and I don't have to like make tons of like actors that are representative of those nodes. I just have I basically just have a script that runs when you select the node, and that basically shows it. So what does everything do? So the thing that every free node should do is that cover nodes basically make it so that the AI uses them for cover. So every once in a while, the AI will tick and it will check for all cover nodes that are still in vision of the enemy. Obviously, I don't want the AI to go into cover and then not have vision of me or the player, because that sucks, because that basically means that they've run out of the fight and they're out of the fight. Obviously, it should make somewhat sense where they go to. Then there are hide nodes, which are basically the exact opposite. Hide nodes are basically there to hide melee enemies. So when the player character is like on a position which can't be reached by a melee enemy, the melee enemy will then hide at the hide node so they don't just get shot in the face. Retreat nodes I theoretically made so the enemies on low health can retreat to retreat nodes, but I'm not using them right now. They're just like maybe in the future. However, enemies are more likely to seek cover if they are at low health, so that's pretty interesting. So let's just show it off. So I'm just gonna damage one of the enemies, or two enemies. I'm gonna damage one and hopefully he's gonna run into cover. I think yeah, so he's in cover right now. He's no longer like moving. He is still in combat with me because he is still moving and actively chasing me, but he is standing in cover. And eventually they do go out of cover. Like, it's not like they then endlessly stand in cover. The way it works is when the AI gets hurt, I mean, they don't have to get hurt, but when they get hurt, there's a higher chance that they get into cover. When they start to get hurt, they run into cover. Now, obviously, this isn't very good cover, but in the levels, I can like place chest-high walls and stuff. So the AI basically stands in a more protected area. And that basically makes sense. Now, the reason why I do that isn't necessarily to like save the AI. It's basically to make sure that the AI spreads out more. Because problem that I'm having is that the AI they just clump up way too much. And by having this cover system, some AI will go into cover and some AI will keep chasing. And that basically makes the enemies automatically spread out. And that's basically the major reason why I'm doing this. So let's go and quickly see melee enemies. Yeah, that's not how that works. Warrior. No, warrior can jump. I need a robot. An engineer. Yeah, so robots can't jump. So enemies that can jump towards you can still like they ignore hide nodes, but enemies that can jump will try to hide. So this guy, shoot now. Okay, hold up. Yeah, there he goes. So he's now just gonna stand there out of sight, so I can't hit him. So yeah, so that's basically just how that works. And the reason why he didn't go into cover right here was because I was standing here and he couldn't see me. And I technically couldn't see him. So yeah, that's why that happens. There we go. Alright, so yeah, that's basically a big improvement to the AI. And I've also solved a major like problem, which was that the walking animation was bugged for human characters. Basically, at certain speeds, the AI would basically like shake in place in terms of like animation, and that was really weird. And it turns out that one of the running animations was I had it flipped around. So I think it was pretty much all walking and running animations when blending. Oh, I actually can show it. Human, locomotion, and then run blend. So forward combat walk. So what was happening that one of the walking animation was like violently shaking in place. So what turned out to be was one of the animations, I think it was the jog animation, had the wrong leg forward. So I think it's yeah, right leg first. So all these animations have the right leg go first. So the right leg goes forward first and then the left leg, etc., etc. And that's basically how they properly blend together. The problem was that the jog animation was flipped around. It was left leg first. And because it was left leg first, it basically canceled each other out and the character just violently shook in place instead of like actually doing a running animation. So yeah. That's fixed. I'm very happy that so like running looked really weird for like enemy characters that ran at a specific speed, but thankfully I figured that out. Another problem that I have solved is actually I'm gonna go to maps. Oh, I'm actually gonna show something I did. Oh yeah, generators. Yeah, so elevators are now working. Not working. They are now textured. Elevators finally have textures. After 2 years, they finally have textures. Fantastic. Actually, I don't think that model is 2 years old. I think it's like more like 1.5, but whatever. And I've also made these generators. Very cool. These are actually old models. I didn't make these this month. Actually, I kind of did because I had to redo a bit of it, but those models were actually really old. I made them when I made the slip gates. I mean sling gates. So yeah. Yeah, that's textured. So a lot of like final last things that were untextured are now textured. So that's also done. So now we can go to a problem that I was having. Actually, two major problems, which I'm not gonna really show, but I'll show one. Speedkills. Okay, so the problem was I had two major bugs. So I've been playtesting over and over and over again, and I can now actually play from beginning to end the game. Like I can play it from beginning to end. First, it was only theoretically possible, but I have practically now been able to play through the entire demo from beginning to end. However, there were two major bugs with the save system, which I thankfully figured out and discovered and I fixed. So the first bug with the save system was that sometimes saved. Okay, I have to explain how naming works. So the way objects can be named is that objects that are in the same level cannot have the same name. So for example, if I go to spawn, hopefully there are a few duplicates. So yeah, so here you can see there are 4 SK spawn 1. Now this is possible because they are all in separate sub-levels, and that's why this is possible. Because they are all in different sub-levels, they are allowed to have the same name. Only objects that are in the same sub-level cannot have the same name. That is fine, except there was a problem in the save system. in the save system, when I am restoring references between actors, I was looking at a name, but only the name, which means that it basically picked the first thing it came across with that name, which means that an object in level 2 that was looking for a specific object in level 2 with a specific name might accidentally pick a object that is in a different sublevel, which basically broke the save system, and it basically caused the game to crash all the time. It was a major problem, and I was really like, oh god, what did I fuck up? Now, thankfully, it was a very easy fix. All I have to do was basically check if the object that I'm trying to find is also in the correct level. So not only should I check if the name is the same as the name that I'm looking for, but also if the level is the same, and that has fixed the problem. So that was the first problem of two major problems that I had with the save system. The second major problem with the save system was that the save system didn't load levels correctly. So I have a loop somewhere in the RT, in the real-time game instance. Where is it? It's here. So here in this loop called load streaming levels, it does exactly what it says. It loads all the streaming levels. The problem is that you can only call one load stream level command at a time. So that is this command, load stream level, and also unload stream level. Only one of these commands can be active at the same time. However, this function does not block. It doesn't block the thread. It basically just tells another thread, a loader thread, to start loading the level. Which means is that because this was in a loop in a single function, it only took the first load request and then it ignored all the other load requests. So what I had to do is I had to make a callback functions, and callback functions are a bit weird, but this is how callback functions work for load levels. So I had to make a callback function, and that callback function basically calls back to the same function after the level is loaded. So then I can load the next level, then I can load the next level. And that has basically fixed that problem. So again, I have been able to play through the game from beginning to end while saving, and I have not found any other save problems. So I hope that the save system is now completely robust. But yeah, it's still, the save system is still the thing that I'm worried about the most. Like, it's still the most difficult part where things can go wrong very easily. So yeah, that is most of the technical stuff. Furthermore, like I said, I'm working on playing through the levels, and I'm just fixing what is standing out. So one thing that is standing out, and I'm also trying to fix, is making the levels clear. So making the levels less abstract. So making it more obvious where you should go. So that's where these things are for. These are markers. They are a specific class that I made for them called the decal marking class. It's basically a combination of like, it's just a dynamic decal basically. It's my own dynamic decal that I made. And it's just, I mean, I can show how it works. I actually have not yet placed one. So the way it works is here's also a postcard. So I have these postcards, post-it notes, sorry, that basically have like small hints like, hey, you need a key card, it's at 7B. And then you go to here and it's like, oh, sector 7B, that's that way. It's like small little hints for players so they can at least find their way. So I'm making a lot of markers to make it more obvious what everything is, so it's not like completely abstract. So I can go to marking, decal marking, and then I can go to details, select the marking. So marking, then I think I have an elevator. So yeah, elevator. It's flipped around. Let's see. Come on. Yeah. Then I can pick elevator. I can then give it a color. So, you know, like the lab color. Then I can copy this and, you know, like point and, I mean, arrows maybe a bit. That's arrow down, arrow. So here, like elevator that way. I mean, I don't need that. I think it should be pretty obvious what is the elevator. But yeah, elevator. But not only that, I can actually also change the size of the marking, of course, I can change. That's obvious. And I can also change the damage intensity. So I can like make the marking more faded. So just to give it a bit more character, the levels. So yeah, very cool. Yeah, I can give it a slightly bit of fade, and then like depending on like the area, let's say it's a very heavy industrial area, I can make it more faded because it's like a heavier environment, like more yeah, like more damaging to the material. But if it's like a relatively clean environment, I can make it not that damaged. So yeah, that's very cool. What else is there? I mean, not much. It's just mostly bug fixes and just minor fixes and also level improvements. So I actually improved the level little bit. So um, beforehand, you actually there was just one long hallway that was really boring. So I made a bit more of a dynamic setup right here. So I'm changing the levels around a little bit to make them more fun. I've also changed some enemy spawns around, so that's a bit more fun. And that's just all I'm doing right now. It's just playing through the levels, seeing what needs improvement and improving that, and just keeping going. Get some of the last missing decors in place, fix some of the last missing bugs. I really don't have a whole lot of stuff left. Like it's just this is just a yeah. So I make a lot of use of editor only functions, and I need to just double check to make sure that everything that's gonna work outside the editor will still work. A long story. I'm not gonna dwell on it. Just minor bugs. Yeah, just like minor stuff. The only major stuff is still recording some extra voice lines. That's just it. Like that's the only major thing I need to do. For the rest, it's really just get the final touches on. I'm talking in circles right now. That's just what I'm doing. Finalizing everything. Goodbye.